Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're taking your sources today and aiming for clarity on, well, a pretty revolutionary machine.
We are. Today's mission, as you said, is all about the Ferrari Purosangue.
A car that really shook things up.
Absolutely. It's fascinating because Purosangue means pure blood in Italian, which is quite a statement for what we're looking at here.
Right, Ferrari's first ever four-door, four-seat vehicle. So we're diving into sources that look at how Ferrari tried to tackle the whole luxury SUV market.
Or as they prefer to call it, the FUV, Ferrari Utility Vehicle.
Ah, yes, the FUV. We have to start with the history, though, don't we? Because maybe, 10 years ago, the idea of Ferrari making a family car was just unthinkable.
Completely off the table. I mean, this is a brand built on two-seaters, Formula One. It wasn't just a new model, it felt like a whole new philosophy.
And the sources really frame it that way, not as a compromise, but as this new force challenging everything, not playing by the usual rules.
Which was a shocker for a brand known for, pure racing DNA. And that leads right into the skepticism, which was pretty widespread, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, definitely. The cynics were out in force. And our source material admits even the reviewer was thinking, okay, here we go.
Thinking it's just a cash grab, right? Chasing the Lamborghini Urus money.
Exactly. Late to the party, slap a horse badge on some existing platform, call it a day.
Everyone expected that sort of dry format, the standard recipe, twin-turbo V8, probably borrowed from somewhere.
Yeah, smooth torque converter automatic, maybe that standard 48-volt active anti-roll system everyone else uses.
Yeah.
Just tick the boxes for a performance SUV.
A safe bet. Predictable.
But that's where the aha moment hits you, right from the start.
Yeah.
The sources make it clear Ferrari didn't just bend the rules.
No, they just tore up the rule book completely. And they started with the heart of the thing, the engine. That single choice changes everything.
Okay, let's get into that. Segment 1, the thoroughbred heart. You mentioned the name, Purosangue, pure blood. It's still kind of a bold, maybe odd choice for a four-door family hauler, isn't it?
It is, but Ferrari justifies it entirely with that engine choice. It's like they drew a line in the sand against all the modern trends, turbos, downsizing.
He said, if we do this, it has to feel like a Ferrari, fundamentally.
And what an engine. They just flat out refused forced induction. No turbos, no superchargers.
But what do they go with?
A massive 6.5-liter naturally aspirated V12. The same one, basically, from the 812 Superfast.
Wow. Okay, that is a statement. In today's world, that's bold.
It really is. Turbos would have been easier for low-end torque, for hauling this big car around town easily.
Sure, that makes sense for an SUV-type vehicle.
But turbos, they can dull the throttle response, change the sound. This V12, though, it screams. It makes 725 horsepower.
And the transmission. They didn't compromise there either.
Nope. Paired it with their latest 7-speed dual clutch, so you get those lightning-quick, aggressive shifts.
The result, according to the reviewer, is it goes like a Ferrari and sounds like a proper prancing horses. Even with four doors.
Exactly. But okay, let's talk trade-off. Because that V12 commitment means sacrificing on one specific number, peak torque.
Yeah.
Especially low down.
Right, that's where the rivals with their big twin-turbo V8s usually shine.
Precisely. If you just look at the spec sheet, the Purosangue has 716 Newton-meters of torque.
Which sounds like a lot, but...
But the Urus has 850, the Aston Martin DBX 707, a massive 900 Nm. So on paper, yeah, Ferrari looks a bit down in that one area.
The V12 just can't match that instant low RPM punch at the turbos.
Correct. But the argument is, and the driving experience seems to back this up, that torque figure doesn't tell the whole story.
How so?
Because the V12 delivers its power differently. It's not about that initial shove. It's about sustained, explosive acceleration that just keeps building and building all the way up to, an 8,250 RPM redline.
So it wants you to rev it out. You need to drive it hard to get the best from it.
That's the essence of it. And when you do that, the reviewer says that torque deficit just vanishes. The car is still, and I quote, ridiculously quick.
So we need to look beyond just torque. What about the actual speed figures?
Okay, 0 to 62 miles per hour, 3.3 seconds.
That's right up there with the fastest SUVs.
Absolutely. As quick as anything factory built in this class. And the top speed, 194 miles per hour. Again, top of the class.
So it's not slow by any measure.
Not even close. But here's the really telling number, the one that shows Ferrari's focus on sustained speed, not just traffic light drag races.
Okay.
The sprint to 144 miles per hour, or 0 to 230 kilometers per hour for metric folks. The Purosangue does that in 10.6 seconds.
10.6 seconds to 144 miles per hour. And how does that stack up?
Get this. That's over a full second quicker than the Urus Performante and the DBX 707.
A full second? At those speeds, that's huge.
It's monumental. It shows you where Ferrari's priorities lie. Peak power, high-speed performance, open road capability. Not just low-end grunt for pottering around.
So the V12 wasn't just nostalgia. It was a deliberate performance choice to dominate at higher speeds.
Exactly. It redefines acceleration in this segment. Okay, so the engine sets the tone. But what about the looks? Designing a tall Ferrari. That must have been a massive challenge.
Yeah, let's move into segment 2. The design, the exclusivity, and that price tag.
Ah, yes, the price. Another area where it immediately sets itself apart. The starting price is £313,000.
£313,000. Starting?
That's more expensive than a Rolls-Royce Cullinan.
Wow. Okay, that's a serious barrier to entry.
It is, but the sources argue you're paying for, well, two main things. Exclusivity, obviously, but also originality.
Originality.
Meaning it's not built on a shared platform. Think about the rivals. The Urus shares its bones with Audis and VWs. The Cayenne, same thing. The DBX borrows its engine from Mercedes-AMG.
Right, platform sharing is common.
But the Purosangue, it's pure Ferrari, designed and engineered from the ground up in Maranello. No shared bits from, lesser cars in a big corporate group. That pedigree, that engineering independence, that costs money, and in this market, it has real value.
Okay, I can see that. And the design itself, it doesn't look like a typical boxy SUV.
Not at all. It's very aero-focused. They did this clever thing, splitting the body into two sections visually.
How does that work?
There's the upper body colored part and then a lower section, usually in black or carbon fiber. It does two things, makes it look lower, less bulky, and also gives this impression that the sleek body is kind of bolted onto this functional chassis underneath.
Interesting. Less like one big heavy shape.
Exactly. But the face, the front end, it's still recognizably modern Ferrari, isn't it? Shares cues with the Roma, SF90, the 296 GTB.
Yeah, you can see the family resemblance.
Though the reviewer actually suggests that because of its stance and profile, it might even be prettier than all of those, which is incredible praise for a four-door utility vehicle.
High praise indeed. But you mentioned aero-focused. How much trickery is actually baked into the design?
A ton. It's everywhere, but subtly done. Like that black strip across the front, even on a red car, it's there.
Why?
It's purely to hide the tech. All the sensors, forward camera, parking sensors, they're tucked in there so they don't clutter up the lines. Very neat.
Clever. What about all the vents and ducts? They look quite dramatic.
They're all functional. The front splitter channels air cleanly under the car, feeding it towards the big rear diffuser for stability. And those things that look like the main headlights?
Yeah.
They're not really, they're mostly vents. Channeling air into the engine bay for cooling and also over the wheel arches to smooth out airflow and cut drag.
So where are the actual headlights?
Much lower down, integrated into the bumper. It's smart design, really.
Okay, that's next level aero thinking. And the wheel arches themselves, they don't look like typical rugged SUV flares.
Nope, they're pure aero too. See the open bit at the front edge? That guides air around the huge wheels, 22-inch front, 23-inch rear.
23's on the back.
Wow, yeah. And then the sharp edge at the back of the arch keeps that airflow tucked tightly along the side of the car, stops it swirling around and causing drag. Everything is about managing airflow.
And that carries on to the back, I assume. That diffuser looks pretty serious.
Oh yeah, it's huge. It's pulling all that air from underneath the car out smoothly, creates stability. And then there's the roof spoiler.
Which normally adds downforce, right?
Usually. But here, Ferrari says its main job is to direct air down over the curved rear window. Apparently, it channels the air so effectively, it keeps the glass clear of water and dirt.
So clear they didn't fit a rear wiper.
Exactly. They ditched the rear wiper entirely. Sacrificing a basic utility feature for aerodynamic purity and looks, that's quite a statement.
It really is. Okay, so aero is king. What about basic practicality, like the boot?
It's described as fairly good size. You get some underfloor storage, an adjustable divider thing, and obviously an electric tailgate. It's adequate, probably not class-leading, but usable.
Right. But let's move inside segment 3. Because practicality seems to take a back seat the moment you open those rear doors.
Ah, yes. The doors, this is the absolute showstopper, the party piece.
Right.
Electrically operated, rear-hinged doors.
Suicide doors, basically, or coach doors, as Rolls-Royce calls them.
Exactly. And the mechanism is pure theater. Short press on the handle, the latch presents itself, then a long press.
Right.
The door just swings open automatically, power-assisted, reveals this huge opening, makes getting in and out really easy and, well, dramatic.
That's definitely a statement piece. Aim squarely at Rolls-Royce, you think?
Oh, for sure. And closing them, just push and hold a little button inside. It's very slick. Makes the whole arrival and departure feel incredibly special.
Okay, so you make your grand entrance. What's the cabin like once you're in the back? It's strictly a 4-seater, right?
Yes, only 4 seats. 2 individual, heavily sculpted seats in the back, no bench option.
So definitely leaning more towards sporty luxury than family bus.
Absolutely. It emphasizes that everyone gets their own defined space. But, crucially, for Ferrari's first real family car, both rear seats do have ISOFIX mounts for child seats.
A Ferrari first. Okay, that's a necessary nod to practicality. What about amenities back there?
Pretty nice, actually. There's an armrest with wireless phone charging, USB ports, and this really cool rotary dial for the rear climate control that electrically rises up out of the console.
Fancy. How's storage generally?
A bit stingy, apparently. Ferrari still prioritizes structure and mechanicals over lots of cubby holes, but you do get a choice for the roof. Standard carbon fiber, or an optional electrochromic glass roof that can tint itself.
Nice touch. Now, one thing that surprised me in the sources was the mention of refinement, with that huge V12 up front.
Yeah, you'd expect it to be loud all the time, wouldn't you? But the review highlights how surprisingly quiet it is when you're just cruising. Yeah, even on noisy winter tires, which the test car had. Apparently, they used a lot of double glazing and sound deadening. It's calmer inside than pretty much any other Ferrari when you're not, hard on the throttle.
That's important for a car like this. Needs that dual personality. And the materials inside.
Top notch, as you'd expect. Mix of carbon fiber, beautiful leather, but also this sustainably sourced Alcantara, giving it a modern, techie feel. And the overall layout, they say, it creates a unique cockpit feeling for everyone.
So even passengers feel like they're in something special, not just along for the ride.
Exactly. 4 individual performance pods, kind of.
Okay, now for the really clever stuff. Segment 4. The tech that lets Ferrari claim they really did tear up the rulebook. The driving experience is described as brilliant, up on its toes, more sports car than SUV.
How? It comes down to some genuinely groundbreaking engineering to basically cheat physics. Let's start with the steering.
How is that different?
Well, compared to other Ferraris where the steering can be hyper-quick, almost darty.
Yeah, sometimes criticized for being too sensitive on the road.
Right. Here they've dialed it back just a fraction. It's slightly slower. But crucially, the reviewer says it still feels direct, playful, not numb at all. Just maybe a bit more manageable for this kind of vehicle.
Okay. And the drivetrain. How does the power get down? It's all-wheel drive, but not always.
Correct. It's a clever system, biased towards the rear for that playful feel. It wants to feel like a rear-wheel drive car most of the time. It's definitely capable of being tail-happy, as they say.
So how does the front axle get involved?
There's a power transfer unit, the PTU, bolted to the front of the engine. It's a complex gearbox, essentially, that can send power to the front wheels.
But only when needed.
Exactly. It primarily engages in the first 4 gears, and only when the system detects wheel slip or under really hard acceleration. Above 4th gear or when you're just cruising, it's purely rear-wheel drive. Preserves that classic Ferrari feel.
Smart. But the handling magic, the thing that makes this 2.1-ton car feel agile, that's the rear-wheel steering, isn't it? But it's not a normal system.
No, this is wild. It's incredibly complex. Unlike other systems that steer both rear wheels together, the Purosangue can steer each rear wheel independently.
Wait, one wheel at a time. How does that work without making the car unstable?
Immense computing power and integration with all the other dynamic systems. The idea is it's much faster to react, especially in quick direction changes, like S-bends. Because one wheel can always be neutral, ready to instantly countersteer or adjust the line without waiting for the whole axle system to shift.
Yeah.
It apparently makes a car feel incredibly eager to turn in.
The reviewer said you have to reset your brain because it holds a tighter line than you expect.
Yeah, very little understeer for something this big and heavy. It's a key part of the agility.
Okay, rear steering is clever. But the suspension itself, this sounds like the most radical part. What's about not anti-roll bars?
Correct. They completely eliminated traditional anti-roll bars, which sounds crazy for a tall, heavy vehicle where controlling body roll is usually the biggest challenge.
So how do they stop it leaning over in corners?
They use what Ferrari calls fast Ferrari active suspension technology. It uses powerful electric motors at each corner, replacing conventional shock absorbers.
Motors? Doing what?
They actively push or pull each corner of the car up or down, independently and incredibly quickly.
So in a corner.
The system actively fights the roll. It pulls the outside corner down and pushes the inside corner up, keeping the car remarkably flat. It's constantly managing pitch, roll, dive under braking, squat under acceleration.
Instead of just passively resisting roll like a metal bar.
Exactly. It's much faster, much more precise, and infinitely adjustable. The level of body control is apparently phenomenal, even in the sportiest settings.
But can it be comfortable too? It's still supposed to be usable daily.
Yes, there's a dedicated bumpy road setting, which softens things up for more compliance, gives it that necessary duality.
And does the system do anything else clever?
Yeah, launch control. The system actively makes the car squat down at the rear, pulls the front up, pushes the rear down to maximize traction off the line. Really aggressive stance for launching. Then in corners, it just feels super flat.
Amazing tech. And all this is possible because of how they package the engine too, right? The mid-front layout.
That's fundamental. Even though that V12 is huge, they mounted it entirely behind the front axle line.
Which helps with
weight distribution. Despite the heavy engine, they achieved an incredible 49% front, 51% rear balance, almost perfect. That's key to why it feels so agile, so balanced, like a proper sports car, just taller.
Okay, the engineering is clearly incredible. But let's move to segment 5. Because all that tech under the skin doesn't necessarily mean it's easy to use inside. There are some issues here.
Yeah. There's one major headache, according to the sources. The steering wheel controls.
What's the problem?
Pretty much everything, important indicators, wipers, lights, driving modes, even interacting with the main screen. It's all done with buttons or capacitive touchpads on the steering wheel.
Like an F1 car almost.
Kind of, but way more complex. And apparently, it's just really difficult to remember what button does what, especially when you're focused on driving. Creates complexity where you really want simplicity for basic functions like indicating.
That sounds frustrating.
Yeah.
What about the main infotainment screen itself?
It looks great. Big, sharp display, similar to the one in the Roma. High quality. But using it is tricky, especially on the move, because you have to interact using those corresponding buttons and touch sliders on the wheel. It can feel slow and laggy. Trying to swipe through menus using a tiny touchpad while steering a 725-hour key car.
Yeah, not ideal.
I can imagine. That seems like a definite weak point for daily usability.
It's a common Ferrari complaint these days that prioritizing the everything on the wheel philosophy sometimes compromises ease of use.
But they didn't forget the passenger. They get their own screen.
Yeah, that's a nice touch. The passenger gets their own 10.2-inch display right in front of them.
What can they do with that? They can see driving data speed, revs, G-force, that kind of thing. Or, probably more usefully, they can control the navigation, music, climate, etc. without distracting the driver fiddling with the wheel controls.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Kind of shares the workload.
Exactly. And the standard stereo is apparently fantastic, a Burmester system, so the sound quality is top tier.
And the climate controls, there was something unique there too.
Yes, the pop-out dial. There's this really cool, ornate rotary controller for the main heating and ventilation that physically rises out of the center dashboard.
Rises up.
Yeah, mechanically. The reviewer called it complete overkill, but looks really cool. Classic Ferrari theater over pure function, maybe. It looks amazing, but maybe a simple knob would be easier. Still, it adds to the sense of occasion.
Okay, one last thing before we wrap up the tech off-road ability.
Yeah.
It's high riding, has all-wheel drive.
Yeah, Ferrari, like Lamborghini and Rolls-Royce with their SUV, doesn't really talk about it much. It has the ground clearance, it has the AWD system.
Right.
But look at those massive wheels, the low-profile performance tires, the expensive, intricate bodywork. You're not taking this thing rock crawling.
Not unless you have very deep pockets for repairs.
Precisely. It does have the Manatino switch on the wheel, though, with modes for ice, wet, comfort, sport, and ESC off, so it acknowledges different conditions, but its playground is definitely the road.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's pull it all together. Segment 6, final assessment. Where does this leave the Purosangue? Let's go back to that initial skepticism.
The reviewer is very clear. They started out thinking Ferrari's late, they're just going to phone it in, paint a rival red, and then they drove it and realized wrong. Completely wrong.
So the verdict is?
That the Purosangue has changed the game. It's set a whole new benchmark for what a sporty family car can be. And notice they emphasize car, not SUV.
Because it avoids those typical SUV compromises.
Exactly. Ferrari engineered it to feel like a car first and foremost. But we need balance. It's not perfect in every single area compared to rivals, right?
No, the sources point out some specific areas. It's not as practical as an Urus, for example.
Right, the Urus has more boot space, the option of a rear bench seat. It's arguably a better all-around utility vehicle.
And the Purosangue probably isn't as ultimately comfortable as plush as, say, a Bentley Bentayga?
No, the Bentayga is focused purely on luxurious isolation, and the Purosangue isn't trying to be as ostentatiously luxurious as the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, which is all about bespoke opulence.
So it loses out on pure practicality to the Lambo, pure comfort to the Bentley, pure luxury theater to the Rolls.
Yes, if you judge by those specific metrics. But where the Purosangue stands completely alone, where no rival can apparently touch it, is driving pleasure.
The sheer engagement.
The engagement, the thrill, the connection, it demands you drive it and rewards you immensely when you do.
And that comes down to that whole package we discussed.
Exactly. That incredible V12 sound and power delivery, the truly spectacular looks, and that agility, that absolutely unrivaled agility from the unique steering and suspension tech. Ferrari didn't just join the segment.
They flipped it on its head.
Yeah, they turned this bizarre corner of the automotive world completely on its head. They used hyper-complex, unique technology to make a big, heavy car feel small, light, and genuinely thrilling.
That really is the takeaway, isn't it? Okay, let's recap for you, the listener. The Purosangue defies expectations mainly through three things, wouldn't you say?
I'd agree. First, that commitment to the naturally aspirated V12, prioritizing screaming revs and sustained speed over low-end torque.
Second, that incredibly complex single-wheel rear steering, key to its unexpected agility.
And third, the fast active suspension. Ditching anti-roll bars and using active motors to control the body in a way nothing else really does.
It forces everyone else to rethink how you make a big car engaging, doesn't it? Proves tech can overcome mass if you throw enough bespoke engineering at it.
Absolutely. Which brings us to our final thought.
Our provocative question for you to chew on. In a world that's rapidly going electric, where huge V12s like this are basically dinosaurs, is the Purosangue the last glorious roar of the internal combustion engine era for Ferrari? A magnificent final flourish.
Or, given its extreme price and exclusivity, is this actually a sustainable niche strategy? Can Ferrari keep making these ultra-special, non-electrified machines for a very select few, defining the absolute peak of internal combustion luxury and performance for years to come, even as everyone else goes electric?
A fascinating question. Is it the end of an era, or the blueprint for a new kind of ultra-exclusive future?
Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Purosangue paradox.
We'll see you next time.